Welcome everybody to Montes Wine's webinar, Montes Cabernet. We have created this space for you to have the chance to taste our wines and receive first-hand information from its creators. In this webinar, the winemakers are the only ones who have their microphones and cameras on. You will not be heard live, so please use the question and answer options located on the bottom menu. There, you will be able to make all the questions you want, and they will be answered backstage by the Montes team or live by our speakers. We remind you that this webinar will have a maximum duration of 1 hour. We hope you find it useful and entertaining. Now we leave you with both Aurelios. Thank you. Just one moment, please.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a very special morning for us. It's a rather cold morning. That's why we're using a lot of outfits to be out of the cold. First of all, my name is Aurelio Montes, Senior. I'm the technical director of the company and one of the founders, and by my side.
And could be a little bit confusing, but I am also Aurelio Montes. I'm the second generation of winemaker in the family, and I'm the chief winemaker of Montes.
Well, the idea is to have a very relaxed tasting today of Cabernets, to bring a little bit of joy in a very difficult moment for the world, in which everyone it's suffering problems. So we will try to make it fun, to make it nice. Sorry, there's a technical problem, it seems.
It's Pia, are we there? Are we still there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
And can you see us?
Perfect.
Okay. I think we lost the screen. That's why we're having a little bit of trouble here in our part of it. So, well, the idea is to bring a little bit of joy in this very particular and difficult moment for the whole world. We are working at our vintage today. We're working in the harvest, and of course, taking all the precautions that we need to have to be safe in terms of washing our hands, keeping the distance. Actually, we have an arm's length here with Aurelio, my son. So this is the idea. What do you think, Aurelio, of what's going on today?
Yeah, you know, this is going to be a very unique year, very complicated year. And we were talking during the morning, you know, for us, more important than the wine, it's for sure our family, our people that work with us every day. So we took all our precautions to be safe and to take care of course, the production of the wine and of our people. So that's why, as you said, we're taking distance, we use a mask, all kind of alcohol protection. So we try to be, you know, very safe here at the winery.
Well, in terms of the harvest, this year the harvest has been a small harvest in terms of kilograms, you know, received at the winery. So we're working with shifts. We don't have all the people together. We keep them separated. We're doing shifts, you know, to be less conglomerated. And being a short vintage, we are about to finish. Actually, we just have the Cabernet out. It's the only variety that we have.
We have we just harvest everything. We finished with all the grapes except with Cabernet. It's going to take us mainly 1 week and a half to finish the harvest. So we are happy to finish the harvest. It has been quite challenging.
But we have some good news for you, because the harvest has been small, that's true. But the quality of the grapes, it's amazing. As you well know, we are suffering a very severe drought for the past maybe several years. And this year was especially, you know, severe, the drought, which meant that the clusters are small, the berries are small. So we have a highly concentrated juice to make our wines. We have to be careful at the level of the winery, not to over concentrate. So it's a lot of fun now. We're having a vintage that is more owned by the winemakers than by the viticulturists. So it's a winemaker's
Year.
vintage.
Yeah, exactly. The berry are so small that we have to be very careful with the pump overs and the extraction of the wine. The color of the wine are amazing. The concentration is so beautiful, beautiful acidity. But we have to be careful, not to go too far, inside of the extraction. So that's why it's going to be a very nice year, but very challenging at the same time.
Well, a little bit of history before going into the wines. I think it's always nice to recall what it's all about here, what is Montes, and what the philosophy from the very beginning. We are already 32 years old as a company.
Wow.
A lot. Yes, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I hate to remember that, because that reveals that we're getting older. And yeah, the idea from the very beginning was to have a very high level quality of wines in the winery, sell at different price points, get a more fair price in the market, and that was the philosophy. Actually, it's fun to recall that the very beginning we thought in a retirement project in which we would be in the future, older years, walking, by the vineyard with a stick and looking at the clusters and enjoying a bottle of wine. The idea was to enjoy a retirement moment, but at the end, it's been a success. What do you think?
It's going to be. It's like life. It's we have been talking many times about this. It's you program your life this way, and life show you, that can end in a different way, different road. So that's exactly what happened with Montes. Started as a retirement program or retirement project,
Yeah.
and today it's in a wonderful winery with a lot of reputation and spread in the world. And look where we are. In a beautiful corner of the world. So we feel very proud, and especially me, that I'm in the second generation of what my father has done in his life. And I have now the advantage to use all these to keep doing, all these beautiful wines.
Yeah, and as Aurelio says, it's been life, the way things happened. Being at first, a very small project, it became a very important one. Today, we're one of the imported wineries in Chile, exporting 95% of our products to more than 100 countries around the world. And if you ask me why did we had this sort of success in our history, I would say that maybe two words come to my mind immediately, and that's innovation and a lot of work.
Exactly. I think another thing, what I learned about the winemaker from my father is that even if always we want to be the best wine that we can produce, also we always work very deep in being a very consistent winery. We want to have a really good quality year by year, and that's why we spend many hours down there in the winery, in the vineyard, working from the roots to be able to keep the quality year by year.
Yeah, but this thing of innovation, it's not just a saying, but if we enumerate, the things that we have been doing in terms of being pioneers, it's first of all, we're the first ones to plant, spots like this one, hillsides. Chile didn't have a culture of planting hillsides. That maybe you in Europe, you had them, but we didn't. We were the first ones in Chile. Then we planted by the coast. We have two estates, Marchihua and Zapallan by the coast. Now we have a very aggressive project down in Patagonia. And Aurelio has gone many times to Patagonia. Maybe you can tell the story a little bit.
This is a new project, amazing project in the southern plantation of Chile, in the very 1,000 miles from here to the south, in an isolated island in the middle of the ocean, where we have a special condition that we believe that we're going to get amazing results. It's something that it's very extreme. We have to wait a few more years to really realize if we can get something from there. But it's part of the risk. Is that what we like to do, to take risks to produce innovation.
Yeah, we'll see what happened there because it's a brand new vineyard. We have 7 different varieties there, trying to test them and see which will cope better with compared with the other one. So it's a very cold and extreme area. Global warming, which is a disaster for the whole world, in this particular project is helping because we have higher temperatures down there. We have less rainfall, so the plants are growing happier than they used to grow maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So it's still a project, in process. We don't really have the final solution for it. We think that at least we will be able to get a sparkling, because I think that
we're praying for that.
Yeah, we will reach maybe 9 to 10 degrees, I would say easily. So maybe it won't be enough for wine, but it will be enough for the base wine for sparkling.
Definitely, yes. So what do you think? Let's start with the tasting. So we have a few wines here to taste today, and so we can talk in between each other, and if you want to ask whatever you want to ask, please let us know if you have any question.
Okay, I will start with this wine. This is a one that we love a lot. It's a blend. It's a blend that it's 70% Cabernet and 30% Carmenet. And the story, it's quite nice. Maybe I will pour the wine for the two of us here.
Yeah, thank you.
The story of this wine is very particular because, as you well know, there is a story of Carmenet in Chile in which we were confused for nearly a century, 100 years. We had Carmenet in our land here, and we were sure it was Merlot. So shame on us that we were shipping and exporting wines under the label of Merlot, but it was Carmenet. But even worse for the international juries, that they were giving gold medals and silver medals to a wine that was not Merlot, and they thought also that it was Merlot. So it's funny to remember that. But when we realized what we had, we wanted to use this variety as a flagship of Chile, but it was unknown. And people always, loves to have a safe bet. When they buy the wine, they want to buy something that they know previously, like the Cabernet, Merlot, Chardonnay, or Sauvignon Blanc. So our first attempt to push people and to invite people to drink Carmenet was to blend it with Cabernet. So we decided to have a majority of the blend Cabernet and the minority of Carmenet.
Exactly.
We're getting a very nice, strong ruby color, which reveals that the wine is still young and it can afford, a long aging.
Here we can use this to speed if you want.
If we were to describe the flavors of this wine, I think it's pretty obvious that it's a very interesting blend of red berries, typical of the Cabernet, black currant, a little bit of red berries, and a little bit of that spiciness that the Carmenet supplies to the blend. The Carmenet is a late picking variety and always has a little bit of pepperiness, black pepper, which is a good one. So that brings a little bit more of complexity and vivacity to the blend.
What I like about this wine is expression in the nose, how intense it is. You get the heat of the black fruit, all the spiciness in the nose. It's so beautiful.
To me, in addition to a very inviting nose, inviting flavors, like Aurelio is describing, it's so important, the mouthfeel, the sensation when you put the wine in your mouth. And here we got, I would say, the combination of the freshness of the Cabernet, the very slim sort of approach of the Cabernet, all together with the voluptuousness of the tannins. The Carmenet has a very high pH and a low acidity, naturally, as a wine it is. And the tannins are so soft, so approachable. So the blend of this, appealing nose and this inviting taste of the wine makes it especially interesting. We love it. It's been a very successful blend, actually. We're selling a lot of this wine.
Has been, and I think that was the smartest blend, one of the smartest blend you have done, to blend this so spicy, soft Carmenet with this beautiful, strong Cabernet Sauvignon. So
And of course, it was the first step to invite people. Come,
Get closer,
risk
yeah.
yourself. Don't be shy. Come and try the Cabernet because it is something that you should try and you will love it. And today in Chile, let me tell you that it's one of the most intense growing varieties in the market. You know, Cabernet started at a very low base, but today the rate of growth is one of the biggest.
Exactly.
It's one of the biggest.
Exactly.
Cabernet is already the king. Cabernet is there, and
It's going to be for a
it's
long
got
time.
a position.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Now, in terms, what do you think, Aurelio, in terms of gastronomy? With what would you imagine to enjoy this wine? What sort of food would you try?
You know, it's as you know, I like to cook and I like to play in the kitchen. So this is the type of wine that is very easy to match. It's an easy wine to use for day by day drink. I love to use spiciness in the food. So with some pastas, could be some light type of pork or even chicken with some spiciness over it. Works so good. So yeah, play with the spices, and this wine's gonna match so good.
I have to admit that my skills in the kitchen are zero, are very close to zero. But I admire Aurelio that has a very high level of skills to cook at home. So when we have dinner together with our wives, Aurelio's mother and Aurelio's wife, with this wine, I definitely enjoy pasta. But when I say pasta with this wine, you need to have a pasta a little bit more sophisticated, maybe a lasagna or a pasta with some sort of sauce that would give
Stronger,
some
stronger, yeah.
strong flavor. Because this wine, it's not a joke. This wine is serious, so you need something a little bit stronger
Yeah.
to pair with the with the food. So in terms of price point, by the way, in terms of price point, this wine, I'm not quite sure in Europe the retail price, but I can tell you that in the US, this wine is retailing at $14.99 or 14 US dollars retail price for the consumers, and I think it's a wonderful bet. It's a wonderful, ratio of quality and price.
Yeah, definitely yes. Do you think it would be good if we ask if someone has any question for this wine?
Yes, we have one question here. Chile produces and exports mainly Cabernet Sauvignon. Is it still so important for Chile, despite Cabernet being the sort of flagship grape? Why is it different on the other side of the Andes with Malbec?
I didn't get totally the question. Cabernet is the number one exporter, but the rest of the question, I didn't get it very clear.
I'll repeat it. It's Chile produces and exports mainly Cabernet Sauvignon. Why is it still so important for Chile, despite Cabernet being the sort of flagship grape? Why is it different on the other side of the Andes with Malbec?
I can answer to you, and if I understood the question is that Chile, the main grape by far it is, and it's going to be Cabernet Sauvignon for long term. Cabernet is our spicy friend. It's our spicy grape that grow so good in Chile, but it's not easy to produce. Doesn't grow everywhere. You have to find a correct spot. It's not like in Argentina that the terroir in Mendoza, for example, is so good for Malbec that whatever you plant it is going to be at least good. Here in Chile, no. To grow in volume, in terms of growing the production of Cabernet, is not that easy. We need to find specific places where Cabernet can grow, and we're doing that, but it's going to take a long time to really find more places. It's not that easy.
Yeah, and I would say the consumer in general also is looking for new experiences and new things. Although it tends to be very reliable to a brand or to a variety, they're also a little bit explorers. And when they find a wine that it's really interesting, although it's not a Cabernet or a Merlot that are the two typical varieties, the most popular ones, and finds a nice wine to drink, they go for it. And again, although we started in a very small scale selling Cabernet, today is the fastest growing variety in
Exactly.
terms of percentage. It doesn't mean that we sell more Carmener than Cabernet. Cabernet is still the king or the queen. Uh, Cabernet. And Carmener has a rate of growth that is very encouraging, and I think it will become a very strong flagship, a little bit comparable to the Malbec in Argentina. That is a little bit different because Argentina is the only variety.
Yeah.
Here in Chile, we have a range of varieties that are all very good: Merlots, Cabernets, Carmener, Syrah, and so on. Argentina, they have an amazing Malbec, a very good one. They have made a wonderful job with it, but it's the main variety known from Argentina.
Exactly. We're known more for diversity than for a specific grape for Chile. We have so many type of, places, geography, climate influence that we can produce from an amazing Sauvignon Blanc in the coast to an amazing red grape here in the Central Valley. So depend where you are, what you can produce. Very diverse country.
Another little curiosity that Aurelio is very fond of it, it's that wine and music go so well for the pairing. We say pasta is good, of course it's not, but also, just share a conversation with good music. And in this wine, I've been enjoying a lot, one specific song with this wine that is called Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. It's a very romantic, a song that it's a person that sits in a dock watching the ships go by with a wine in the hand. Makes it very, very romantic and very special. Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's move to the next one. Or I don't know if there's another question, Pia.
Let's continue with Montes Alpha.
Okay. Okay, time for a very special wine, the Montes Alpha Cabernet Sauvignon. I want to show you. I feel very privileged to talk about this wine. This one of the most emblematic wine that we have in Montes. This was our first premium wine produced in Montes, and one of the first premium wine produced from Chile. This is not only a beautiful wine, it's also a piece of history. As you know, Carmener, it is the most important grape in Chile, but everything changed when 30 years ago, more or less, when we started as a winery. We used to plant Cabernet Sauvignon everywhere in Chile. But with the experience of my father, he realized that there was a special places inside of Chile where you could produce an even better Cabernet Sauvignon. So there where we started working with a famous terroir concept. So the first Cabernet Sauvignon produced in Montes was in another valley, was produced in Curicó. Curicó is south from Santiago and southern from where we are today. We are in Colchagua Valley. And working for other wineries, my father realized that here in Colchagua, an unknown place for Chile, there was small places where he found amazing Cabernet Sauvignon. One of the places that he got in love was Apalta, the place that we are today.
Beautiful mountains here.
Beautiful spot. At that time, there was only plums, apple trees, other things than grapes. And no one used to plant in the slope. So how many years we work in Curicó? 8 years, more or less?
We worked since from 1988 up to 1995. So about 6 to 7 years. And then we realized that Colchagua was a better
spot than
a better spot. Yeah.
So we decided to move here to Apalta because of the quality, because of the terroir. So part of the innovation, part of being brave to change the place, to try other things. We were the first here in Apalta, and we got an amazing result. We got amazing grapes, but we never stopped. So we keep moving, and again, my father is a very pioneer guy. He went to the place closer to the ocean from here, called Marchihue. It's not an easy name to pronounce, but it's an amazing place to produce wines. It's around 40 kilometers from here to the coast. So we get some coast influence. It's not cold, but it's cooler than here. So we got some different type of wines, more vibrant, better acidity, with bigger tannins. And here in Apalta, we get very elegant Cabernet Sauvignon. So we decided a few years later that when we started in Apalta to start blending these two Cabernet from Marchihue and from Apalta. Again, Colchagua, it's 150 kilometers south from Santiago, and then Apalta, it's 40 kilometers from the Andes to the inland, in the middle of the valley, and we're in a very small valley. So this Cabernet Sauvignon, let's try it. It's, of course, it's a premium wine, 100% hand-picked, 100% aged in barrels, French barrels. It's only 30% of the wines go to new French oak. The rest go only to the small vats where we can decant better. We can get a little bit more oxygenation, so the wine, the evolution of the wine is much better.
Something is important to add, according to what Aurelio said, that we started in Curicó Valley for 6 or 7 years, and I think that you have to be quite brave when you are developing a brand in a certain valley and you're pushing that, to be brave enough to recognize that there are better spots where you should maybe move and change. So we did that in 1995. So we realized, okay, Curicó's a nice place, but we can get better wines in Colchagua Valley.
Exactly.
So let's move, and we had to, give the good news to everyone in the world when we were already pushing the wine in the market. Yeah?
For 8 years, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Look in the wine, you can see, how amazing it is, a wine. This is a very deep red color, it's very clean, brilliant, very, very nice wine in looking at it. Then in the nose, you're gonna get the most typical flavor from Chile. Here in Chile, because we have this wind influence, as maybe you can hear now, we get the wind every single day, so it's not that warm. So we get very cold nights. So it's a place, it's a place where we get some spiciness. We get this red fruit like dry plums, some rosemary. So very beautiful, very beautiful nose with this touch of spiciness, and we decided many years ago to add a little bit of Merlot, no more than 10%, depending on the year, but no more than 10%, to make the wine even more fun, where we get some flower flavors in the nose and very soft tannins at the very end of the mouth.
Yeah. I would say that this wine, it's all about elegance. You get the perfect balance of the two varieties, Cabernet and Merlot, together. The Merlot, my idea when we added Merlot to the blend was to give what I call a little bit, the soft, let's call it the feminine side, the approachability of the wine. Because Cabernet is a nice variety, but it can be a little bit harsh sometimes, a little bit too strong. And then you need a long term of aging on the bottle maybe to soften it down. So the addition of Merlot brings a certain amount of approachability to the wine from very early stages. So again, New World, and especially our wines at Montes, we do them in a way that you can enjoy them young, with pleasure, and it's drinkable, and you can pair it with food, or you can lay down in your personal cellar and wait for 10 or 12 years or 15 years, and then you will have a wine that evolves pretty well. So it's a combination of easy drinking, the tannins are solid, they are there, and you can maybe get a wonderful evolution of the wine on time.
But believe me, what my father is saying, it sounds beautiful, but it's not easy. To get a wine that it has to be drinkable today, but being able to age is a lot of work, because you have to, train the wine, you have to produce a specific type of grapes, and then all the production, all the winemaking process has to be so gentle, and be able not to go too far with the tannins, but at the same time get enough structure and enough flavor from the wine. So you have to be gentle, but not too gentle. So at the end, it's a game that you have to play year by year, and it's a lot of fun, but it's sometimes a little bit complicated.
Yeah, and trying the wine and getting those tannins that I was explaining, that makes the wine so nice and makes the wine so obviously capable of aging. I'm certainly sure that if I were to keep this wine for 10 years, I would get a lot of quality after 10 years. And drinking it now, you need maybe a certain piece of good meat, to pair it.
Exactly. Here we're going, now that we're talking about meat, now we're going to the barbecue. One of the things that I love to do is, we're not Argentina, but in Chile we barbecue a lot. And this type of wine is the wine that can hold this type of smoky beef, cook in the barbecue. It's also some blue cheese where you can get this strong flavor of the cheese. I love cheese, so normally drink this wine with some strong cheeses, and then with this beautiful steak in the barbecue.
I'm imagining, a piece of meat that has a little bit of fat in it. I wouldn't say a tenderloin, but a loin, what we call lomo in Chile. The lomo, it's the loin that has a little bit of fat, and it's a stronger piece of meat, very tasty. And I think this wine with that sort of wine goes really very well.
Good.
Very well. Any questions maybe from the public?
We have here Michael from Hamburg, Germany. He's asking, how big are the differences in vintages in Chile regarding the last dry years?
I would say that if we have dry years, which we had for the past at least 5 years, the vintages are quite even. Now there are certain levels of drought. We have had drought, but mild ones, in 16, 18, we had some rainfall enough to grow, normally the plants with a lower level of water, but I would say enough. This year was really very severe. Maybe has been one of the most severe droughts, for the past 50 years or so. But in general terms, in dry years, the quality of the vintages tend to be very even and very good, because the plant, survives pretty well without any mold, without any disease. So you can wait all what you need to wait to get the perfect ripeness of the grape. And you can pick it exactly the day you want to. You don't need to hurry up.
That's the wonderful thing about Chile, that we don't need to push the grapes. We don't need to harvest if we don't feel that they're ready. It's a thing of style. If you want to harvest earlier or later, that's the wonderful thing about this. We're in autumn, and look the weather. It's so beautiful. This is a normal day in Chile, during autumn. So we can wait as much as we want.
Yeah, we have a beautiful sunny day. But look at us, we are quite dressed.
Yeah,
It's
a bit
quite
windy, cold.
It's quite cold. We are facing our autumn the way it should be, cold winds, but very nice blue skies and sunny. So that makes a perfect environment for the vineyards, to enjoy climate and ripen properly all the grapes. That's the way to go.
Exactly.
Any other question, Pia?
No, we can move to the third wine.
Okay, let's move to the other one. We will change glasses to make it really professional. So not to get, the flavors of the previous wines. Thank you.
Okay. Time for the next wine. This is a very special wine, quite new, not really very new, but it's one of the newest wine that we have been producing in Montes. It's our Montes Alpha Special Cuvée, or as we know, Black Label. This is a wine that we decided to produce because we found a very amazing spot in one of our vineyards that make us feel that we got something special. This is a Cabernet from Marchiwe. Remember I told you this vineyard that is closer to the ocean, with all this kind of influence, not cold influence, but cooler influence again. Here, as you can see, we have mountains, and there are big, very big mountains around here. In Marchiwe, there's only rolling hills. So more windy, drier than here. So completely different from what we produce here. So what we love about Marchiwe is that in that area, like sometimes it's a little bit harder to produce wines. If I have to make you as an example, the way how we feel to produce wine here in Apalta and in Marchiwe is like when we compare with horses. Apalta will be like a racing horse, beautiful, elegant, tall, a little bit weak, but very, very beautiful wine. Marchiwe, it's like the black wild horse of the mountain, you know, hard to get it, hard to ride the horse, but it's so beautiful. So in Marchiwe, we get the vibrancy, we get, you know, the power, but you have to be much more careful with the tannins. We have been talking about that the tannins is something that we really take care, because we want to produce a wine that has to be able to be drink today, and also be able to age. So this wine, and let's start with the tasting of this wine. You're gonna look that the wine is deeper and vibrant in color. Even you have some ruby color in the border of the wine. Then in the nose, you know, here the spiciness, here the black fruit, the cassis. You say cassis in English?
Blackcurrant.
Blackcurrant, sorry. Cassis will be in Spanish.
Yeah, because it's understandable. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of also of dry fruit. I'm getting a little bit of dry plums. I'm getting a little bit of some figgy flavors, a little bit of fig here. I'm getting the cedar of the oak here, a percentage of the oak where we age this wine is new oak, and the rest goes to used oak, 2 and 3 years used oak. And I'm getting all the combination of these flavors, again, making the wine so elegant. This wine, in addition to the Montes Alpha, for example, this is a little bit more expensive, actually. And this wine stays for a while in the bottle at the winery before it's released to the market. So I'm getting that bottle aging, that it's 6 to 8 months. I'm getting the evolution, that kind of reductive evolution of the flavors in the bottle that makes it, again, so elegant. So I would recommend this wine to make it breathe a little bit, you know, decant it before drinking. Yes. I would open this bottle maybe half an hour before you enjoy it, decant it in a good decanter, and then you will get all the expression of this wine.
And look the acidity of the wine. When you put in the mouth, the wine, you know, hits you in the mouth, make it full, beautiful tannins, and the acidity, the finish of the wine is so, so nice that it's what you said. It's nice to age the wine also. Yeah. It's very, very big potential for aging.
I love the comparison of the horses. I'm a horse lover. I love horses. So a race horse and a stallion, you know, makes a little bit, you know, the difference. From Apalta, very light and fast and slim, and in Marchiwe, because of the cooler climate and the soil that is more granitic, you know, you get this sort of dark stallion with lots of muscles that is harder to tame, but it's of very high quality when you reach the total taming of it.
Yeah.
When you finish with it. Again, this wine, you can hold it for 10 years easy.
At least.
Easily.
Yeah.
And again, if I had a big piece of steak, I would drink it today.
The thing is, I don't think I'm that patient to wait 10 years to drink the wine. That's why we make wine to drink it today.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you need to be really fond of wine to be able to sit upon a bottle for 10 years, and, you know, before you drink it. It's very tempting to open it earlier.
So now, look, the weather's getting better. It's getting a little bit warmer now. I have to tell you that. It's so beautiful now outside.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, any doubts on this wine?
Any
maybe?
question?
We have a question from Holland. They are asking, Montes are innovators by DNA. How can you innovate with a classic and widely known grape variety as Cabernet Sauvignon?
Well, I think that there are many ways of innovation. It's you can innovate in terms of looking for terroirs, valleys, hillsides, different climates or varieties. In the case of the Cabernet, we have been playing a lot with the valley floor, that it's richer, with the mid slope, that it's what at the very end I think is the best of all, where you have, a perfect blend of the poor soil of the mid slope, a little bit of stones that makes the Cabernet grow without too much fertility and too much vigor, more balanced. And if you go to a higher slope, the Cabernet won't like that. It's too poor, it's too rocky.
Yeah.
So the Cabernet wants a mid slope. In the valley floor, it grows too much. Then you have differences. If you move in Chile to the coast, how you just described, how cooler it gets, because we have the Humboldt Current in the Pacific Ocean. So as you get closer to the ocean, the climate it's really cooler. So there is a limit for the Cabernet. If you move to the coast, you will get lighter, more elegant wines up to a limit in which you start to get the greenness. So then you kind of go beyond that point. Also, we have the foothills of the Andes. We can explore the foothill of the Andes, where it's cooler. You can have the frost risk there.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to be careful with the frost. And then you can move to the south where it's rainy. So innovation, we have a world of innovation here. We can play a lot. And of course, there are boundaries, are limits, and the Cabernet is very clear in defining those limits.
Yeah. You also can play with, to add what my father said, is that we're playing also with different clones, muscle selection from Chile, clone from France. We're also playing with a different winemaking process that, we believe that winemaking, we're not magicians as winemakers. We don't transform bad grapes in beautiful wines. When we have beautiful wines, we try not to make any mistake and to put all the quality of the grapes inside of the bottle. But even that, in the winery, you can do a few things where you can even improve, or take care more about the quality of the grapes. So we also play with the winery, doing some special things, with whole clusters, stems inside of the Cabernet Sauvignon. So we also play with the winemaking process.
Yeah. I would say something that maybe is not too good for winemakers, but the wine, there's a saying, and it's quite true. The real quality of the wine is made at the vineyard, not necessarily at the winery. With bad grapes, I won't be able to do good wines. With good grapes, I can do bad wines if I spoil them.
Exactly.
If I don't do the correct things. So we, as winemakers, that is also something new nowadays, because in old days, when I started in winemaking many years ago, winemakers were at the lab, in the laboratory, in the winery. They didn't walk the vineyards. Today, we spend 80% of the time in the vineyard and 20% in the winery, because we want to have the real good grapes at the level of the vineyard to get with the good grapes into the winery, and then we don't have to spoil them. Just take the maximum quality out of those grapes.
Exactly.
And that's the way to do it. It seems simple, and I would say it's not that difficult actually. If you love what you do and you do the proper thing.
Exactly.
Pia, any other questions on this wine?
We have here the last two questions. Are all the Cabernet Sauvignon vines from the same clones? And do you irrigate the vines?
You want to answer that?
Yeah. In terms of clones, no, we have plenty of different type of clones. We try to choose the specific clone for different type of soil and weather, so we can make and also we use rootstocks to prepare the vines better for the type of soil, even if we have less water, more food, less food. So we play a lot. So there's not only one clone, and we also like the muscle selection, the Cabernet Sauvignon that has been adapted to our own climate.
And in terms of irrigation, I would say that we are at some point we talk of being pioneers. We have been pioneers in many aspects of the winemaking world, environment. And in terms of watering, we definitely were very, very pioneers.
Yeah.
10 years ago, and that's quite a big period of time. 10 years ago, we decided to start exploring how to irrigate less or no irrigation at all, at the level of the vineyards. Because we felt that the world was changing, the climate was changing, and the drought was coming. So as I said, we wanted to look hell before going forever there. So it's just take a look to the hell and run away, because you don't want to be in hell. But I wanted to leave the sensation of a very extreme, situation in terms of watering before leaving it in reality. So we have been exploring a lot that. So now the final thing is that we do irrigate the Cabernet, but we're really irrigating, I would say, more or less 1/3 than the levels that we used to use 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, so to give you figures, we used 4 million cubic meters per hectare in older days. Now we're using about 1.5 million cubic meters. So that's a third of what we used to. Now, if there's a spot where we have enough water in the soil, a table water there, we may not irrigate if we think it works that way.
Exactly.
So we are very severe in that.
Water can be your worst enemy if you have too much water into the vine. So here we play very very delicate. I don't know if it's delicate, but we try to be very specific, very accurate. Accurate, that's the word. Accurate in terms of irrigation. And what you said, I'm gonna add another thing. When we change all this program of use of water, we stop using 840 million liters per year, the same amount of water that 20,000 people use for a living. So it's that amount of water we used to use for the vineyard. And with this new program, the biggest program ever done in the viticulture in Chile, we decreased 840 million liters of water per year. So imagine if everyone do the same, how much water we can save.
Actually, 4 years ago, we were given the prize of innovation in the US in New York.
Yeah.
I had to go to New York and get the prize by a very important magazine due to our innovation in watering. So even the whole world is recognizing the effort that we're doing in terms of controlling the watering in the vineyard.
And use less water.
Yeah. I think there was another question, Pia.
We can continue with the last one.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we are now in the fourth wine, and this is our Montes Alpha M that we're very, very proud of it. It's a real wonderful blend. We started in the year 2006 with this wine. Sorry, 1996.
1996.
1996. Sorry. And here the blend, it's there's a story behind. Always when we do a wine, there's a story behind it. And I studied at the Catholic University, the same as you did, actually.
Exactly.
We did the same, the two of us. We studied at the Catholic University, of course, in different ages, in different timing, in different timing. And I had French teachers. There was an agreement between the two governments, the Chilean and the French one. So we had mostly French teachers. So I'm very fond of French wines. So at some point I wanted to prove the world that Chile was as good as France to produce good quality wines, and especially Bordeaux, which is my favorite wine, the Bordeaux ones. So I decided to do a blend that is an 80% of Cabernet Sauvignon, a 10% Cabernet Franc, 5% Merlot, and 5% Petit Verdot.
So very Bordeaux style.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just missing the Malbec. It's the other variety of Bordeaux that is missing here.
Exactly.
So it's nearly all the Bordeaux varieties in this wine. So, and it's not an accident what we did. every one of these varieties gives something to the blend. You know, the Cabernet gives, you know, the elegance, you know, a little bit, you know, the cutting edge in terms of acidity, of freshness, of elegance. The Cabernet Franc gives, you know, those solid tannins, you know, as I describe them, like a column of marble, a marble column in which you touch it by the outside and it's soft. If you hit it, you can break your hand. So it's a solid tannin,
strong, yeah.
but very, very approachable to drink. The Merlot, of course, is always nice, smooth,
Floral, yeah.
it's round, and the Petit Verdot is the wild one. Petit Verdot is really very wide. Normally, you don't use it much more than a 10% in the blend because it has a lot of acidity, good pH, good tannins.
He's a rugby player.
It's a rugby player,
The guy in the scrum.
in the blend. So those four varieties are the ones that give birth to this wine. The wine stays for 18 months in French oak, about a 70%. It's new, and the rest is second and third used oak, and then stays for 1 full year in the bottle before it's released to the market.
Yeah.
We're very proud of this wine, and it's, again, very, very elegant oriented. It's all about the elegance.
Another thing, let me explain you something about something that you missed. That's very important. This was the first icon wine produced from Chile. This is a wine that, from my point of view, was a very smart decision what you have done, or what you did at that time, because you decided to make a Bordeaux blend. There was a very smart way to compare or to compete with the world. Because imagine if we go out of the world trying to show that Chile were also able to produce premium wines with a Carmener. No one knows Carmener, so you can compete with anyone. But with the Bordeaux, you're comparing apple with apples. So at the end, we could show the world that Chile, with this beautiful terroir, we could compete with the big wines of the world. And that's what M have done, has showed the world that Chile has all the potential, has all the quality when we talk about icon wines.
Well, actually, adding more to what you said, we were encouraged by a very good article that the New York Times made of this wine in the US. So we were encouraged to do a blind tasting in the US, in Los Angeles. And we ran this tasting, it was about in 2010, roughly, some time ago. It was the year 2004, the harvest that we tried, you know, the vintage. And we tried it with 18 sommeliers and specialists from the US. We didn't participate in the tasting. We were just, you know, there, but we didn't participate. And we put this wine side by side with Lafite, Haut-Brion, Sassicaia, Ornellaia, and Penfolds.
Yeah.
And not Penfolds, sorry, Opus One. And Opus One. And well, we ran the tasting, so it was all blind, you know, the bottles were covered and everyone gave the scores. And when we unveiled, you know, the bottles, so we could see which were they, number one was Chateau Lafite, the one that won the test. Number two was Montes, was this wine. And we were so proud to learn that this wine beat Haut-Brion, Sassicaia, Ornellaia, Grey Tuscans, and Opus One of the best, you know, Cabernets from Napa.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're very proud of this wine. Well, in terms of this description, it's really elegant. We have a development of the bouquet, where the typical, you know, fruity flavors, you know, are a little bit in the backstage, and now you have the secondary flavors being developed with a little bit of spice, a little bit of dry fig, dry fruit, a little bit of barn flavors there, some tobacco, some tar. So you got secondary flavors that are really very, very elegant. When you tell me with what to pair this wine in terms of gastronomy, a little bit as a joke, I say, forget about food in this case. Just imagine and picture yourself, you know, in a very nice room in winter with a fireplace, dark chocolate, and your girlfriend. That would be the best way to pair this wine. And forgive me, but I won't spit this wine, as I will swallow it. It's all about balance, you know, of the palate. Here, the tannins are really very tame. The wine is not a blockbuster. It's not a stallion. It's slimmer. It's more elegant. It's a different wine that you can have it in any time, with food or without food, with a good friend, with your wife, whatever.
Beautiful.
Any questions?
Yes, we have one. Is the high alcohol not a problem for you?
Not at all. This question, it's very frequent. And wine, let me explain you. Wine is not only alcohol. Wine is an addition of things. You know, it's got phenol, it's got color, it's got acids, it's got alcohol, of course. It's got so many things that just aiming the color, it's a big mistake. As long as you have the balance, you got a good acidity, a good balance, the alcohol doesn't harm. Now, when you ripe properly the grapes and you get a higher level of alcohol, what you're achieving is the best of the flavor and the best of the tannins, where they are rounded, drinkable, approachable. I wouldn't pick these grapes earlier, just for the sake of having 12 degrees in the bottle instead of 14 or 14.5. You know, I'd rather pay the price of a higher alcohol to achieve this quality, this balance, this approachability, this nice wine.
Soft tannins.
Yeah, instead of picking it with 12 degrees and have a harsh green wine that maybe you need 10 or, I don't know, 20 years to tame it. For me, it's totally evident. I don't have any problem with the alcohol as long as I keep the balance and the quality.
And if the balance, you reach the balance with 12 or 14.5, doesn't matter. We're looking for the balance, not for the alcohol or some specific number of color or tannin, whatever. It's balance.
Here we are, we're accepting, we are showing the label that is 14.5, this wine. And I'm really don't getting, you know, the warmth of the alcohol. It's again, it's all about easy drinking, approachability, and elegance. Cheers. Any other question?
Yes, we have the last question. This is Mr. Montes Sr. recommended sitting on the dock of the bay with the first wine. Do you have any other recommendation of music with the other wines?
Well, I do have for this one at least. I love, one of my hobbies is flying. I love to fly, you know, little airplanes or helicopters. And when I take off flying, I normally put Rod Stewart with I Am Sailing and I Am Flying. That blows my mind away. This wine is to put that song and just start singing I Am Flying. Allow the wine to take you to the outer space.
Great.
Cheers, and see you soon. And don't forget, Montes is the best.
Thank you everyone for participating in this webinar. We hope stay tuned for a new edition of this webinar by Montes Wine. See you.